What's up, y'all? It's Matt again here, bringing you another book review. This week we've got a good one. I think that this one is climbing the ladder rather quickly in terms of my favorite books, and I'll get into a little bit more about why that is here in a minute. So I won't waste any more of y'all's time with a teaser or a lead up to get you to watch until the 4 minute mark. We can go ahead and hop right into it. So the book that I just finished was All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. So first off, I want to say, if you were at all put off by Blood Meridian, or if you were like me, you kind of started it, didn't really know if you gelled with his writing style, maybe thought it was too violent, maybe thought it was too esoteric for your tastes, I would say do not give up on Cormac McCarthy as an author, because I think that this is a better starting place for people that are kind of getting into the let's call it non-standard American literature genre. This book really allows you to understand his prose, his writing style. This is where it really shines. I mean, he wrote Blood Meridian before this book, as a matter of fact, and I think that Blood Meridian was probably ahead of its time, absolutely. And whereas that book is more of a reflection or a philosophical meditation packaged within a story, I think this, All the Pretty Horses, is really a story that uses his language and his prose, and he injects some philosophical thought into it, but it's not necessarily the complete axis around which this whole book revolves, where I believe that's more so the case with Blood Meridian. So before I picked up this book, I honestly saw this and I was like, what kind of freaking Books a Million, Barnes and Noble smut is All the Pretty Horses? Like, is this Brokeback Mountain or something? I mean, I'm kind of partly kidding, but I don't think pretty is a real manly word, if you catch my drift. But I picked it up anyway because I liked Blood Meridian. I liked his writing style. It finally clicked with me, like I said, my second time reading through it, and I really was just itching to read some more McCarthy, and so I heard the Border Trilogy was probably one of his, monumental achievement. So I picked it up, and boy, I am glad I did. So I grew up in a part of North Carolina that's a very, I wouldn't say equestrian, but I guess that's technically the term for horsey areas. I grew up on a horse farm, quarter horses. My mother and father showed horses before I was born. They had cattle before that too. I see a deer running around outside right now in the middle. Get out of the road, sir. You're going to get splat. I grew up around horses, so I understand a lot of the terms that are used, and I understand a lot of the art of horsemanship. Maybe not so much to the degree that someone in Wyoming would, or someone that works on a cattle ranch in Texas would, but I that was kind of my justification for being like, maybe it's just a book about some guy running in fields with horses, but if Cormac McCarthy wrote it, I'll give it a shot. And boy, I was wrong. This book takes place in West Texas, very close to the El Paso border region there. Starts out with his grandfather dying, and the main character is John Grady Cole, and his family had owned a pretty large cattle ranch in that area. It's about 1949, I would say, because World War II has ended rather recently, and his father was gone and came back. His father and mother are estranged. His grandfather dies. His father's in poor health. His mother's off acting. So he's really got nothing in this world. And when his grandfather dies, the ranch is just in the middle of these like dusty lands that people are saying there's oil in. So his mother is quick to decide to sell the ranch after his grandfather dies. And John Grady, being 16, doesn't really know how to handle this. I mean, he can read. He can read and write and stuff. He's literate, but ranching and the life on the plains, that is his life. He doesn't want to go get a job in the city. He doesn't want to go, work at a hardware store. He wants to, get up in the morning, saddle up, go out, check on the cattle. He wants to, tie them up and brand them when they're young and stuff. He wants to do all those activities. That's his life. That's what he grew up doing. That's what his comfort food for his soul is. And in that time, all that land was getting bought up so they could drill for oil. And all of the ranches, it was becoming quickly either you were extremely profitable, like King Ranch in Texas, or you were barely scraping by, covering your cost, like his family was. So his mother's like, let's get rid of this. Let's let the oil company come out here and drill. Let's get rich. And he's not cool with that. So he goes and gets his cousin, Lacey Rawlins, and they saddle up and they decide they're going to run away to Mexico. So they get and go to Mexico. On the way, they encounter another character named Blevins. So it's a 17-year-old Rawlins, 16-year-old Grady, and probably a 13, 14-year-old Blevins. And at this point, I'm like, is this going to be some, young adult coming of age story? And I should have known better. I mean, Cormac McCarthy is not going to sit there and write you some, goofy children's book. And it was certainly not. I mean, all of the characters in this book, despite them all being under the age of 20, are mature beyond their years, because that's just how you were at that period in time. People weren't coddled and controlled by their parents until age 18 in this age. I mean, at age 12, your father would tell you, get on that horse and go out there and do this today. And you did it. And if you didn't, you were in trouble, or you let your father down. That was the type of world these people grew up in. That was the type of world that was dying. And that's the type of world they saddled up to go find in Mexico, because they didn't want the world that we have inherited for ourselves in my generation. So they're in Mexico. Some things happen. I'm not going to, spoil it too much, but just suffice it to say that it's not as brutal as Blood Meridian, but it is no less packed with, moral quandaries, hard decisions to make for anybody, much less someone that age. It's packed with wisdom. There's even a little kind of like a love arc in it as well that's infused through it, with John Grady and a young lady he meets on a hacienda that they find in Mexico. It's got the whole range of human emotions, this book does. If you're looking for a book that is got the setting, it's out west, out in Texas and Mexico. It's got the character work. I mean, McCarthy's style. It's very dialogue heavy, interspersed with these riding sequences, I kind of call them, where they, are traversing open wild country for days at a time. And he may take 2 pages, he may take a couple of sentences in those pages, describe a brief interaction they have around a campfire at night, but very biblical prose describing the color of the sky, the dust rising from the trail as they ride. These are things that you come to really savor with McCarthy books. It sounds goofy even just saying it right now, but I think that where he began in Blood Meridian, he has perfected it by the Border Trilogy. And I'm only on the first book of it, but I gotta say this is one of the best books I've read in a long time, fiction or nonfiction. So I think that you should absolutely pick this book up. If you're like me, or like I was, I guess I can call myself transformed now. But if you think that your fiction needs to have some existential moral narrative like Dostoevsky, I would challenge you to just pick up this book. It's only 307 pages, I think it's exactly 307. If you can just give yourself a week to immerse yourself in this book, I am confident that you will start to see the way that a very, very highly skilled author can take a unique writing style, can take a unique setting, and can take non-conventional characters that aren't necessarily a trope of one idea or another, and add in some characters that serve as the philosophical weight of a story and just completely turn you upside down. I think this book can definitely do that for you, and I would challenge you to read this if you haven't already. So yeah, that's about it for today. Just wanted to say thank y'all for your continued patronage of my channel, all 5 subscribers thus far. Thank y'all for coming to me to get your um, outsourced opinions on books you may or may not have read already. It's a pleasure to be able to sit here and share them with you. So thanks, y'all. Hope y'all have a good one, and I'll catch y'all next time.